Good morning. Thank you for sticking around after yesterday's rather rushed and brief video. Today I have a longer one for us. It's called The Man and the Bird. Before we get started, I do want to define one term, Sangoma, Sangoma. It is a traditional healer in the region of Southern Africa. Not South Africa, the region of Southern Africa. And at the end, I explain what word that replaced, and I also talk about thongs. So, stick around for that juicy tidbit. The Man and the Bird is subtitled with, "A poor man's wishes will forever be granted, if only he can keep the cause of his good fortune a secret." So, that's what we got going on, and without further ado, The Man and the Bird. Long ago, there lived a poor man and his wife. Having no possessions, the husband was obliged to search the forest for the food they ate. Often, it would mean a meal of roots and berries only, but sometimes he was fortunate enough to catch a bird or animal in one of the traps and snares he set along the trails. There was, however, a very large and beautiful bird, which, although he saw it every day, had proved too clever to be enticed into even his most carefully hidden traps. Besides this, it seemed to mock him, as it remained just out of range of his bow and arrow, so that eventually he determined that, come what may, he would capture it. He was just about to return home empty-handed and hungry late one afternoon when he remembered a trap he had forgotten to check. He retraced his steps and, upon reaching it, gave a shout of joy, for there, securely caught by the leg, was the lovely creature that had fooled him so often. He rushed forward and, seizing the bird by the neck, said, "Today I have got you, my friend!" Whereupon he took out his knife and prepared to kill it, thankful that he would have at least something, if only a bird, to take back to his wife that evening. "Mercy, human, mercy!" cried the poor creature, as the grip upon its throat tightened. "Spare my life, and you have my word that you will not regret your kindness." The man loosened his grip and stepped back in surprise, the better to view the rare, golden-plumed creature that addressed him, while it continued to speak. "Although my only earthly possessions are these golden feathers that covered me, yet in them lies a magic that will provide you with both food and drink forevermore. Release me, good human, for the ropes that hold me have eaten most painfully into my flesh." Now, this was a difficult situation for the man. What if the bird was tricking him? He would lose the only food that he and his wife might have for several days. And yet, the bird itself might also have a wife, and maybe even babies, waiting anxiously for its return, also hungry and hoping for food. Then again, what if the bird spoke the truth? Why, he would be able to sit back in idleness forevermore. Such would be the riches beyond counting. Besides, who had ever heard of a bird that spoke? He decided that he would risk it, and he untied the snare that had bitten so deeply into the poor creature's leg. Thankfully, the lovely bird stretched its aching limbs, carefully pulling a golden-colored feather from each wing, then gave them to the man. "With this gift, human, I also give you words of warning. If you wish to retain the magic properties of these feathers, you must neither speak nor boast to others of your good fortune. Should you do so, the power of my gift will vanish, and you will be left as poor as you are today. Therefore, do not treat my warning lightly. Wish as you hold these feathers in your hands, and they will fulfill your every desire." The man thanked the bird for its gift and hastened home, wishing as he hurried along the path that he would find food in plenty waiting for him when he arrived. Which would he find, he wondered, starvation or plenty? The golden bird was as good as its word, for inside his hut the food vessels were overflowing, and the dried-up spring nearby gushed forth in its sparkling waters once more, sparing his wife her daily walk to the water-hole many, many miles away. Life had smiled upon the couple at last. The husband was able to idle the days away, wishing for all the things that made life sweet, which came to him in abundance. On many occasions, the wife questioned her husband as to how it came to be that though he no longer hunted in the forest, she always found food in her cooking pots, and luxuries besides. But each time she questioned him, the man avoided an explanation. At last, as so often happens when life becomes too easy, the man grew careless of what he said, boasting to all around of his wealth, so that the woman grew increasingly suspicious of their good fortune. "Husband," she said, "you show no signs of astonishment at our wealth. You must be hiding something from me. Maybe at night while I sleep you steal the good things that I find cooking upon the fire. Or perhaps you have secret dealings with the evil one, to bring sparkling water bubbling from the parched earth, when all else is dry. I must ask the Sangoma to satisfy my mind upon these two matters." Now, the very mention of the traditional healer struck horror into the heart of her simple husband, who had no wish for dealings with such things. "Wife, do not call such a one, for by his arts he will surely find the magic feathers that provide us with all the good things that I bring." Too late, the man remembered the parting warning of the bird, as he realized that not only had he now shared his secret with his wife, but that he had boasted to others of his riches. It was a deep foreboding that dwelled within him as he held the feathers and wished his daily wishes on the following day, and his worst fears were confirmed. All his wishes remained unfulfilled, and on hastening to his bubbling spring, he found only drying mud. Once more, the couple felt the pangs of hunger, and the husband was obliged to reset his traps along the paths of the forest as of old. Life was harder, even harder than before, for the prolonged drought made food even more difficult to find. However, one day while visiting his traps as usual, he met a neighbor with his dog. "Let us hunt together," said the neighbor, pleased to have company as he continued upon his rounds. To his great surprise, they found the same golden bird, caught in one of the particularly well-hidden snares. The husband rushed towards it, exclaiming, "Once more you are in my power, O golden bird, for I have caught you again. Give me 2 more of your magic feathers, and I will release you." "Spare my life yet a second time, good human," begged the bird, as he at once untied the noose that held it. But no sooner had the man loosened the poor creature than the neighbor's dog pounced upon it. Dragging the animal away with difficulty, the husband hastily picked up the bird and, running to the edge of the forest, he released it, not waiting for his payment of the precious golden feathers. "Once more, human, I thank you," said the bird gratefully. "But for your timely help, the dog surely would have killed me. In the past, I made you a gift of my magic feathers because you spared my life, although you and your wife were very hungry. But there was a condition with my giving. You have suffered for not listening to my warning, and maybe you have learned your lesson. This time, I will give you all that is within my power to give, and I make no condition with my gift. The magic in these feathers will last forever, for you have not only spared my life again, you have saved it. Also, you have trusted my word on 2 occasions." Then, plucking 2 more feathers, 1 from each wing, the bird gave them to the man. Then, spreading its golden wings, the bird rose up into the heavens and was gone. It was a very happy man who returned to his wife that day, but he also never forgot that his failure to listen to his benefactor's warning had brought about his earlier downfall. The end. Hi, Kiki. Okay, so, cute little story. I enjoyed it. To get into the small amount of research that I did, Sangoma. The word I replaced or used Sangoma in place of was witch doctor, because honestly, like reading through these fairy tales are often racist, and have like problematic themes and elements and stuff like that. They're old timey, so what are you gonna do? But I do avoid the straight up upsetting ones and try to do my best to change any terms that I think might not be great. As for witch doctor, sources definitely conflict on whether or not it has racist overtones or just is straight up racist or isn't racist at all. So there was one situation, and I got this off Wikipedia, but there's a book written by Charles Mackay in 1841 discussing shamans or witch doctors. He calls them witch doctors in England. There were also some in Europe, apparently. But the title of this book is Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds, which I just thought was amazing. Like, we need to bring back titles like that to books. So one other note that I found interesting was the witch doctors in like England and Europe would often attribute some things to demons also, like Christian or Catholic or Protestant sort of demons, I guess. So I just thought that was kind of funny. We're trying to figure out what is and isn't a delusion. And I think Charles Mackay was maybe ahead of his time in that one because he didn't seem to see much of a difference. So yeah, it may just be a totally regular term. On the flip side, it could be a horribly racist term that was used to invalidate the medicinal skill of people in Africa, because if you're going to show up and colonize a place, you really can't be like, oh, they have great medicine and like their religions are all really cool and we love their way of life. Like, no, you have to say that it's awful and you're helping them or they don't deserve it or whatever. Insert excuse why what they have should actually belong to you. So anyway, we just skipped all that by just putting Sangoma. I did also mention thongs. So for any creeps who stuck around for that specific thing, I changed it when it came up in the story a couple of times to snares and ropes and ties and things like that, just because that's not what a thong is anymore. Like, yes, it is a string, but your average person who hasn't read a bajillion fairy tales or other old-timey literature may very well not picture the right thing if you say thong. So it can mean flip-flops, it can mean ties or ropes, it can mean underwear. And on that note, I did find it really amusing that at one point the story talks about how uncomfortable the thongs are and that they're biting into the bird's flesh. And in my experience, that's pretty much what the underwear ones do too. And then, like, I guess parting thoughts. Deals and such in fairy tales seem to be so shady all the time. Like, it's always a secret, or you can't tell, or you can't say a certain phrase or someone's certain name. Just like, I don't know what that is supposed to teach, because it just makes it seem very convoluted. But I suppose maybe it's to teach honesty and like faithfulness to your word. If someone sets an arbitrary condition for a gift that isn't super hard, I guess you should stick with it. Then again, maybe if it's super hard, you should also stick with it. We'll find out in some more fairy tales, I guess. So, yep, that was The Man and the Bird. And thanks for tuning in. If you have any thoughts or wish to comment, down below is right there. Definitely maybe share me with your friends. I have 14 followers right now, not to brag. Goal is 20. So, I will see you